My name's Dave Oakey, and I brought in today some mementos from my father had during his time in the Navy during World War II. One of them is a very unique Ronson lighter that has hat badges on it, which was quite interesting. I brought his medal box in as well, and his trade badge and his unit crest as well is included in there.
During the Second World War, if you saw a woman wearing a brooch depicting a symbol of a Canadian regiment, it likely meant her husband or boyfriend was serving overseas. So-called sweetheart jewellery was a popular gift that soldiers, sailors and airmen sent home to loved ones. Initially made popular during the First World War, sweetheart jewellery included pins, brooches and other trinkets depicting a service member's regiment or other military and patriotic symbols. It was advertised to service members as a way of showing their love for those awaiting their safe return. Best of all, sweetheart jewellery was easy to purchase and mail. It was a welcome way to stay connected during long, tense years of separation.
Hi Dave, welcome to the set.
Well, thank you for having me.
Do you mind telling us a little bit about what you brought today?
Well, I brought a few artifacts that my father had during World War II.
So what you have is the Kenogami ship's crest.
His uniform trade badge.
I see your father was awarded the 3945 medal, the Atlantic Star, the Volunteer Service Medal, and this World War II medal.
War medal.
The bracelet that is beautifully engraved. His Royal Canadian Naval Association pin. And last but definitely not least is this beautiful lighter.
The Ronson lighter that is embossed with about 22 or 23 hat badges of the Canadian Forces. So Jen, can you tell me a little bit about that lighter?
So the lighter was a very standard thing for people to have. Smoking was a thing that was very commonly done in that time. So it was not only a very handy practical tool to have, but it was also a great way to get little mementos or keepsakes that are small and easy to keep with you when your space is very, very limited. So oftentimes we'll see things decorated with these little sweetheart badges. Now, Dave, how do you think your father came across all of these little sweetheart badges?
My father being a jeweler, I think that he would have had access to these badges because he was actually in business at the time that he was serving, because he had a jewelry store in Halifax. He may have actually been selling these badges as well to help support kit shops or units. So that's kind of interesting, because now I'm beginning to believe that he actually appropriated those or maybe even sold them.
And I'm guessing he's likely to have mounted them himself.
I believe so, because I have not found another lighter like it. And knowing the different things that my father could do, this would be a task that he would really like to have done. And I'm pretty sure that he is the maker of this lighter.
Well, I checked our Zippo collection back at the museum to see if I could find an example to bring. And we have some that have 1 or 2 sweetheart badges on them, but we don't have anything like this. So it's kind of 1 in a million. Can you tell me a little bit more about your father?
My father passed away when he was quite young, at the age of 56. Being a graphic artist and a jeweler, he was a good carpenter, a good provider for the family. I was maybe 8, 10 years old when we were in the basement of the house when there was this big trunk underneath the stairs, and I don't know if my brother had gotten into it, but he opened it up and he started pulling this stuff out. And what they were all his wartime mementos. I was quite taken by that, that he had spent 5 years in the military during World War II. And then when he passed away, and I never got a chance to really come back to all these mementos until I retired.
One of the things that really holds us back in doing research on people who served during the Second World War is that Federal Privacy Act restricts our access to service records. You're actually able, as next of kin, to get a copy of his service records. It's $5, and it takes some time, but they can get you a copy. But what we were able to kind of piece together, there's a magazine called the Signal Log. We actually found an article here, and it actually lists that Frank R. Oakey is a hep and jive fiend. He hails from Vancouver City itself, and also creates works of art for the Signal Log. And here, this is actually the signal mast of the Signal Log newspaper, in which he's listed Ordinary Signaler Frank R. Oakey, RCNVR. And what we surmise, given his background as a graphic designer, it's a distinct possibility he may have actually made this masthead.
Yes, it's quite possible. That he was quite capable of doing all of that.
Now, Dave, I understand that you also served in the Canadian Armed Forces. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
I joined the service almost right out of high school. I was influenced by my father's service, and I wanted to do some time in the service for my country. And I was only in the service for, I think it was 18 months, and then my father passed away. At that time, I got out of the service because of the difficulties with family at home. And I spent 8 months as a civilian working in a warehouse. And it was quite interesting because I still kept my hair short. And when I was going up and down the aisleways, I was marching. My colleagues would say, "What are you doing?" And I said, "What do you mean?" They said, "All you do is talk about the Army. And when you're marching around or walking around picking parts, you're marching." And I said, "Well, I just can't get it out of my system." So they said, "Well, what are you doing here then?" So I went down to the recruiting office, I told them my story, and I ended back in the service, and I spent 45 years in uniform.
Well, Dave, this is fantastic. This is a wonderful grouping of items of your father's that you brought in. I really appreciate you bringing them in today. What are your next steps from here?
Well, I thank you very much for allowing me to come onto your program, because you have introduced some new facts about my father that I really didn't know anything about. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to investigate further and try and get my dad's actual record and go from there.
Excellent. Well, if the museum can be of any help, please let us know.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I am going to try and research them a little bit more. I'll request his service records. That should answer most of my questions I have about that.